Good morning and welcome back. This is Morning Express on KTN, our extended coverage of the Mpeketoni attacks that occurred last night about 8:30 p.m. going on, we understand, past midnight. At least 50 gunmen said to have terrorized the residents of that area. The death toll now standing at 48 and tens of others lives have been injured, were injured in those shootings last night. And we've been getting details and also pictures we're going to show you just now of what the situation looks like this morning, agonizing families over what it is they were taken through last night. And speaking to Ferdinand Omondi earlier, just bringing us up to speed, understanding is that most of those killed were shot at close range, most of them with head injuries, and we also understand that police cars were burnt, key installations, including a bank as well, torched in the area. This gunman said to have been armed with quite some sophisticated weaponry, but also armed with some crude weapons, because we understand that according to some of also the Red Cross officials who have been able to take care of those that were injured, some of them just suffering injuries that were inflicted by this crude, using these crude weapons. And police have been deployed in the area, GSU, AP, we have Border Patrol as well, KDF also using choppers to patrol the area. And one of the officers whose identity will not disclose, talking about having made a distress call at about 9 p.m. after the shootings began, but reinforcement only coming through almost 5 hours later at 1 a.m. It is a morning that many Kenyans are waking up to find shock, destruction of property, many lives taken there. As we told you, 48 is where the death toll is standing as of now. And this seemingly a well-planned, orchestrated, executed killing as well, many equating it to some of those we've seen in the recent past, with that number unfortunately perhaps expected to rise, but we are continuing to watch for you the developments. No group has claimed responsibility, however, going by a leaflet that was found in the area, alluding that Al-Shabaab could have been behind the shootings. But again, no group, neither Al-Shabaab, has claimed responsibility of the killings. It's a story we're following for you this morning, and we'll continue to bring you all the updates as and when we get them. Those are pictures you're seeing of just what happened in Mpeketoni, and Mpeketoni town, which is in Lamu County, and it was over a long stretch, and residents, you know, just waking up to observe quietly. Some who have their loved ones missing, reporting to a Kenya Red Cross Center, which we understand has been set up to allow for those numbers to be compiled, and as far as those who are missing, those who were killed as well, and those who are undergoing treatment.
Naomba kidogo songe nyuma, tena basi. Songa nyuma kidogo. Sisi. Kama pita tu. Kimaliza futa naomba kidogo songe nyuma. Songa nyuma kidogo tafadhali. Sisi kama pita tu.
You are seeing right now on your screen from Mpeketoni, which is in Lamu County. And it's a story, a shocking one indeed, that Kenyans and the world is waking up to watch this morning of the terror that was inflicted on the residents there. We understand gunmen showing up at about 8:30 p.m. last night and going on a shooting spree, going house to house, as we spoke to Ferdinand Omondi, who spoke to some of the eyewitnesses, and they were calling out the men, shooting them, some close range in the head. Really, some of the images they've been able to see there on the ground tragic, sad, gory, just to say the least, about what this is being described. And you've been able to see also police officers, GSU, AP, also KDF are on the ground. But as our analysts have been saying, a little too late, even with those on the ground who say they called for reinforcement as early as 9 p.m., just about half hour after these shootings began, but only any assistance coming through about 5 hours later. This bringing back into sharp focus the question of security. It is one the Jubilee government has been grappling with, how to deal with that runaway insecurity that has got many Kenyans seeking and calling for answers, but more so a security agency that perhaps seemingly would know what it is doing, what it is dealing with, and also the communication. Because as we were talking earlier, Benji, whether you were saying that perhaps at this time it is now 9 a.m. This is over 9:30. It is over, what, 12 hours since this happened. The police should have had a live, address to the country.
There was a time I said things required the president himself to say, and you objected. Today I'm saying by 9:30, it is 9:30 now.
Yes.
The police commissioner would have addressed the country live, told us what happened, why it happened, and what is being done, and what is the way forward to the future. It seems, again, that it may be the Red Cross and the media houses that we could give this responsibility to tell us, okay, what we have seen is this. Something, I tell you, is wrong. Because the response we are talking about, it was not a response, because they went after these people had left.
Yes.
So it's not a response. In fact, we would, instead of the police going,
it's an escort.
They should have escorted the Red Cross. We should have given all those helicopters to the Red Cross to carry in more people and to fly people to Kenyatta National Hospital. That is what we are called, because going after, it is like when you go there and you find people are dead, you don't call that a response. You say, now, we would have called the mortuary vehicle to take people to the mortuary. Something I keep on repeating is so bad. There is so much disconnect in the security organs that it has gone such bad. And I tell you, it is bad at such a time. You know, this thing has now taken away the budget. We have now forgotten about the budget. Okay?
Yes.
And we forget about the budget, then the issue of security, then the issue of rallies coming up. And this gives the rallies the fodder, where they say, look, these people cannot manage this country. These people cannot manage the system. It is time to get them off the track. And I can tell you, it is gaining traction.
Big time.
It's getting traction big time. Big time. And it is gaining traction at a time when Kenyans are already asking themselves the question, what do you benefit when you vote in terms of your tribe or your party?
Correct.
And come 2017, people will be slightly less inclined to vote according to their tribe and according to their party. It is reducing. And the worrying trend, as a member of the Jubilee, what worries me day by day is that I think Raila's support now has gone beyond 50. If we called election today, he would beat President Uhuru square.
Hands down.
And the few things that are being done, they're being done, but there are several mistakes. There are several mistakes being taken away by the security problem. Look at it. The Britons evacuated their people in a hoof, in a dramatic manner. What did they know that they didn't tell us?
Correct.
This kind of expertise attack, the reason why I didn't want to say it is Al-Shabaab. It could be anything. It could be any group, including a group that wants to bring down the system. It could be anything. But you don't blame the group. Because you believe in security, I think they should believe that everybody is an enemy and it is our responsibility to protect ourselves.
And to prove
when America was attacked, George Bush came out and said, you are either with us or against us. People who tried to be in the middle were on the other side. We cannot allow this kind of slaughter. And then we do not know who is with us, who is against us. Even internally, if Weda himself is supposed to be in charge of security, is supposed to do some job to ensure Kenya is secure, and I do nothing, or I do it badly, I'm against Kenya. Even if you are my brother, you will be against me. Those are people who are against the nation. And when you are counting terrorists, you account the aggressors themselves and those who support them. And you can support terrorism directly by paying or through inaction. When they come to attack, you give them passage. That one is support. So they are the real terrorists, and then their supporters. And their supporters are also within government.
But let's go back to the question of style. You were talking about it. You, Benji, feel this is very much in style and in line with what we've seen Al-Shabaab in terms of its execution. But is it really in terms of what we've seen, the attacks, especially in Nairobi and its environs? We've not seen this kind of attacks.
First of all, Sophia, let me just say on this show that I am glad that my attacks on Weda have caused him to sober up. And this morning, just listening to him, and no, I can see that he's taking the situation with the seriousness it deserves, and perhaps that is as a result of the clashes that we've been having here, you know, of different opposing views on very serious life and death issues. Sophia, if you look at what has happened here and some of the issues that Wakili Weda is raising, we have come to a point now where we have to start getting Kenyans answers more than questions. And so the turning point from Mpeketoni, what the Jubilee government must do now from this debacle, from this attack, is, you know, to now begin the culture of giving Kenyans answers, facts, not propaganda. What happened with Westgate? Who did it? What can you tell us? What do we know? Who's throwing the grenades? From what country are they coming, etc.? I'd like to correct Weda and say the Inspector General of Police, yes, should be addressing the media and Kenyans, but he cannot just come out when he has no facts, when he has nothing to say. 12
hours later.
And so that goes to, that indicts the system upon which facts have not been quickly, you know, brought forth. To be clear, you cannot do an attack like this in Michigan and get away with it. They would lock down the borders to Canada. They will apprehend whoever has done this. Here's the person, here's the accomplice, here's what we know about them, here's their picture, here's the vehicle they used, etc. So we have a meltdown in the entire infrastructure. As we make all this political noise, things are not working. Wakili Weda has also raised a very important point. From this security nightmare, I can tell you, Sophia, that CORD is harvesting ripe apples and bananas. Kenyans feel that the country is off track, that it is being managed by boys who don't know what they're doing, who are absolutely incompetent, and they don't know which way to go. And in that case, that we need a father figure, a baba. This is where the narrative is coming from. It is not that I'm being biased. I can tell you that unfortunately the support for the opposition now is growing and growing sawa. And if we're going to unite this country, if we're going to put this country on a proper political trajectory, if we're going to infuse enthusiasm and honesty in our politics and our leadership, we cannot continue the politics of brinkmanship, and we cannot have the environment that justifies brinkmanship. Because now Kenyans are not going to care whether Lenku thinks he should arrest Raila, whether he thinks they're crossing the line, what the Constitution says. I dare say that there are those analysts who will view that perhaps Al-Shabaab is taking Aden Duale's advice, which was move out of Isli and go far into the inland, into the hinterland, and make your attacks all over. I don't know. What I do know is that the pictures you're seeing is the definition of mayhem. This is what you call mayhem, Sophia. This is bad for the economy. This is bad for tourism. Add onto this the poaching that is going on. Add onto this the borrowing and the looting of public funds that is going on. And we are slowly gliding now, Sophia, into fomenting a proper and complete national crisis. That's why the opposition has smelt blood and talked about Sabasaba to put very heavy issues on the table and lay deadlines and lines which they know the president will fail and which he cannot meet.
All right,
this is terrible.
Let's talk to the Director of External Relations, Kenya Red Cross, Wariko Waita, is joining us on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
Kindly talk to us about what, as the Kenya Red Cross, you've been able to gather in as far as this attack is concerned.
Well, at the moment, we have a confirmation of 48 fatalities, and we have 3 casualties who have been evacuated, both 2 to Lamu Hospital and 1 to Mpeketoni. We have psychosocial needs on the ground, and we have our team deployed there, as well as tracing team to ensure that those who are still looking for loved ones get the support they need.
All right, and from those, I understand about 3 of them that are injured, and those your teams have been able to interact with this morning or following the attacks. What have you been able to gather from them in how the attack unfolded last night?
One that, yes, started. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes. For now, they're still recovering, and we are just basically helping them as much as possible towards recovery. The assessments are being done by the government officials on the ground, and that's the information we have at the moment.
And what are you in need of as the Kenya Red Cross? Are you good in terms of what you need in the situation that you're dealing with now?
Yes, at this point we are assessing the need for blood. At this point we are not having a blood drive. We are looking at, I think the biggest need right now is social support of those who witnessed some of the attacks being undertaken. So right now it's our teams on the ground. We ask for people to be patient. We ask for people to wait for the right information to be communicated, and to give support where possible to the families that have lost loved ones.
All right, we had been informed that there would be a crisis center set up. Do we have that in place now?
For various things that we are sending to the ground in terms of supporting the communities on the ground in terms of blankets, preservation, formalin, IV sets, and so forth, which have been requested. So this is what we are forwarding to the ground to ensure at least the right instruments are available to the experts who are now handling the case.
And how far, in terms of the area of coverage or area affected by these killings, are you looking at? We understood earlier that it was going as far as 10 kilometers from Mpeketoni town. Is that what you'd say as well as the Kenya Red Cross?
Well, there is a lot of infrastructure that has been destructed. The assessment is still being done. Quite a number of houses, and we will have the number of houses affected. We have some hotels, restaurants, and public places, and other public infrastructure that was burnt. So the full assessment is underway, and we will have a full report shortly, but we do know there were a number of people who lost their homes, and a number of businesses that have been burnt down.
But are your officials only in Mpeketoni town, or do you know of other areas around that particular town that have also been affected?
Well, at this point, we're confirming that, but for now, that's what we know.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Wariko Waita, for talking to us this morning. Director, External Relations, Kenya Red Cross, just bringing us an update. Again, just confirming that number, the death toll standing at 48, and that 3 of those who sustained injuries are currently undergoing treatment. We now want to talk to our Ferdinand Omondi, who has this morning just bringing us up to speed with what's happening there. He was at the mortuary. He did see the bodies and telling us that they were all men. Fadi, you've been there for a while now. What new information can you give us? Ferdinand? Ferdinand?
Yes, Sophia, I can hear you.
All right, there you are. So do you have any new information that you can give us? You've been following this. You've talked to the Kenya Red Cross officials who are now talking about the same number you gave us earlier, 48 killed, and also that they're organizing for that crisis center to be set up. But what else can you tell us, Fadi?
I can tell you that all sorts of conspiracy theories are beginning to come up as to why this area could possibly have been attacked. And some of the narratives are a little too sensitive to even put on air. What I can tell you is that there seems to have been actually what looks like, apart from targeting specific persons for whatever reason, this narrative of economic sabotage also looks to be bearing ground. I'm standing right in front of the Equity Bank here. It's a very big establishment. It was razed to the ground. I can see they also tried to burn down the Kenya Commercial Bank, but that was partially banned. Across the town, I have seen the Kenya Women's Finance Trust, which was also banned. Right next to it is an agrovet, which is still burning up to now, and looks like the flames are getting wider and smoke billowing more. I was told that it was a store that had all sorts of plastics and equipment and all this agrovet material in there, so they're still burning. There's still fire there. And next to it was a fuel station, which was also torched. Now I'm speaking to the people, and they're saying this could go three ways. One is a suggestion of terrorism, and we are getting locals saying that when the attackers were moving from house to house, they were compelling the persons there to make some religious chants, and if you fail to respond appropriately, you are shot in the head. What perhaps may query that is, if it is terrorism, what we have known previously is that they were very indiscriminate in their killings. But this time around, the women were being spared, and children as well were being spared. So why is it that young men and middle-aged men were the ones being attacked if this was a terror attack? The other is the angle of economic sabotage, in that the fact that a lot of the establishments here, the proprietorship seems to be heading towards a certain community, and I can only say as much as there because that is a little too sensitive unless that is actually established. The third narrative, Sophia, that is coming out is politics. Most of the people here in Mpeketoni area are settlers. They came from various parts of the country, specifically one area. And the locals suggesting that there has not been a lot of, a bit of politics towards the presence here. So some are saying, could this have been politically motivated? So as you can see, there's a lot of conspiracy theories coming out, a lot of suggestions, people trying to understand why this very silent town, very secluded, largely peaceful, very unconfrontational as far as I can tell, even during the political upheavals in these areas. This area was largely very peaceful. So why now, and who is this? And these, Sophia, are the questions that need to be answered, and the only way to answer that is to find the perpetrators and to be able to understand exactly what is going on, because this is not answered. This is how some conspiracy theories begin to fester, and the locals may believe whatever angle they decide to believe of this politics, business, or terrorism, and then there might be a reaction of any other kind. The only way to solve this, Sophia, I believe, is to find the answers. But like I mentioned earlier, history has taught us in the coast region that these attacks have never had solid answers, and nobody has been held accountable. So who are these people, and why are they seemingly untouchable, or why is it that they cannot be found? Those are not the questions being asked, Sophia.
Right. It's clearly the conspiracy theories, and we'll continue to hear about quite a number of them as time goes by. And we're having one of our correspondent here talking about reporting that about 200 attackers. Of course, the police spokesperson we spoke to earlier was talking about at least 50. What have you heard of in terms of the number of attackers? Because now we're hearing that it could have been about 200.
Well, there's yet to be any official statement from the security officers. What I can see are very many, should I say, junior officers patrolling, quite a number also looking as shocked as the residents are. The seniors haven't yet come up to give a briefing. Perhaps they're trying to get the correct details so that maybe when they speak to us, they do have something solid, and after we just have questions, very tough questions for them. So right now we cannot really tell, just apart from what they go can tell us. And remember, Sophia, that when the gunshots began, a lot of these people made for the bushes or their bedrooms or under their beds or wherever, so they cannot really establish who. What we do know is that at least 2 vans were used in the escape. And like I mentioned earlier, it's possible some escaped using those vehicles, and others may have disappeared on foot, and possibly others may have mingled with the locals. Who knows? So the number, only perhaps the proper estimates can be given the police, but as it is right now, they haven't told us officially.
All right, Fadi, we'll continue to talk to you as we continue the special coverage this morning. Thank you for those updates. You've just been talking to us about now what is emerging in as far as people trying to piece together information, trying to figure out what this attack was all about, what could have caused it to happen, the conspiracy theories as you talked about them there. And gentlemen, you're with me in studio, just hearing what he's been able to talk about. What do you make of some of what people are trying to piece together as have been the situation as it happened?
Certainly I'm getting certain reports from civil society actors via SMS that on some of these attacks there were such questions as, are you Kikuyu? I think that's a step that Ferdinand did not want to go into. Of course, we in the media have to be very responsible, very careful. Certainly there's an certain ethnic angle to it, but not only that, a religious angle as well. We've actually learned with these terrorism attacks that knowing the Shahad prayer, etc., can really actually help. I happen to know one of the biggest survivors of Westgate, the little girl Dos Mwangi, who's a sister of a friend of mine, who actually survived by knowing this prayer, and she was really well covered by CNN all over, and it really trended for some days there. You know, these things are all interconnected. We have to extrapolate what it really means in the 21st century. We also have to make an interpretation. I think Ferdinand Omondi is a hardworking boy, and I like his work. I like how he tried to analyze there and profile the difference between this attack and another attack that doesn't make a difference between women and children, what have you. We need to understand the definition of jihad in the context also of an intifada, you know, and understand that a lot of these attacks will adopt styles on an ad hoc basis. If they have time, and the response is very low, they would see no need to antagonize further by killing women and children. They would actually sieve. But in an intifada where you're hitting a central business district which has a very, very high population of police officers and response is higher, then you have higher chances of being caught, or you have higher chances of your attack being disrupted. So you want to do a mass slaughter. We need to understand all these different things. And what I would urge the Jubilee government, Sophia, as I finish, is the likes of a young man called Mwenda Mbijiwe. These players should not be on the outside while Kinalenku are on the inside. Mwenda Mbijiwe needs to come in. We need absolute expertise. We need to stop looking at all this thing of how much Jubilee are you, how Jubilee are you more than the other Jubilee, and all these qualifications for TNA and what have you. We need proper qualifications, not just people who are stacking papers on the table and they don't know what they're doing. These are life and death issues, and they're really causing major divisions in this country, you know, inhibiting business and what have you. One thing I'd have wanted to find out if I was you from Ferdinand on the ground is on these attacks, was money actually stolen? Because I suspect if it's jihad, the answer is no. There was no looting. It is just economic sabotage on top of killing of human beings, etc. Very disturbing. And lastly, Sophia, my question to you is this. This lady, Wariko Waita from the Red Cross, Sophia, why can't someone like this be working in the National Police Service? I think you've heard her answers this morning, Wakili. I think you have seen her accuracy and how on top of the situation she is. What makes a National Police Service unable to get this competency? Why can't someone like this? Is it the salaries? What is it? Kenyans now need to answers, and they need competency and quality more than lamentations.
Wada.
Yeah, I think
and you haven't answered my question.
We started by
it is not my job to answer
the police commissioner has not provided information.
Right.
These theories normally emerge because of lack of information.
True.
So because they have not come out firmly to say this is what happened, this is how it happened, this is what we are doing about it, this is what it will be, there will be theories. Secondly, and which is the worst, they have not taken leadership. When really leadership is needed, this is the time the country needs leadership. And you must come up and say, we are in charge. Although it happened, we are in charge. As at now, I think it is KTN and Gulet and that Waita who are now in charge.
Who are coordinating things.
They are coordinating and briefing Kenyans. We are doing this, we are doing this. Now, that's the lack of leadership. Now, lack of leadership at this time allows fear to grow bigger.
Yes.
Allows despondency to continue.
Speculation.
Allows speculation. These people are criminals. And they know what sells. What sells, number one? That will cause greater fear and then a bit of support. Go there and get a few people and say, are you Kikuyu? So that the anti-Kikuyu element is a bit higher. Okay? They go there and say, are you Muslim? So that the Christians can also well up and say, we are being finished. These tricks I've said before in this studio are their way, their strategies, and we cannot fall into them. We must deal with these people as criminals in whatever phase they come in, whether they are jihadists or whatever you call them. As far as the anti-Kenya, we have to deal with them. But I'm still insisting that the security agency, I want to agree with you that when you talk about issues of security, we are not talking about people in uniform. We are talking about security is not about guns and uniform. It's about information that will ensure that people are safe.
Information gathering.
If you look at the country Kenya, there are more CIA agents in Kenya than their policemen, than they are the Kenya police. Because you will not get information in KTA, in a standard group,
right,
unless you have an agent there. Unless you have somebody who will tell you, look around what they do. And that person will not be somebody who has come to say, I will be an agent here. That person will be a member of the KTN group that is your friend, that works for you when it comes to matters of security.
Yeah.
So that when these attacks are coming, and there must have been somebody who had said, hey, gentlemen, kuna kitu hapa.
Yeah.
But again, the problem is, even if you had very tangible information, who do you give it to?
Exactly. The discoordinated
You give it to the ordinary police, they'll dismiss you. You try to, I do not even think that the senior people, the other day I was studying, I was writing a book on time management, and I was looking at the routines of senior leaders.
Right.
And I found the Queen at her age, 88 years, reads letters on a daily basis written by the Britons. Read some of them are read for her, then they synchronize, then they respond.
Then they respond. Yeah.
I do not think that these our leaders are doing this. So you cannot be on top. We think that the systematic nature of this attack puts it above the usual operation of Al-Shabaab.
Okay.
There's something wrong with our leadership.
It is well planned, it is well coordinated, and is supposed to hit deep. So as much as the theories are coming out about hitting the Kikuyus, hitting the Christians, that may be a strategy that may take us off the mark.
Benji, before you comment, let me just read for our viewers some of the comments that are coming through on social media. Of course, Kenyans waking up to this, early Monday morning, to the shock of what transpired in Mpeketoni, and you've been seeing some of those pictures we're getting for you from that area. But this is just what some of you are saying who have been tweeting. Uhuru and Baba, while you were busy exchanging words, Mpeketoni happened. So a lot of people just very unhappy with this. Mpeketoni war-style attack resembles the tactics of Boko Haram. That is what somebody here says. Soft target gives a lot of death and fear at a low cost for the attackers. You have Senator Murkomen saying, for what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul, or what shall he? Yes, it's a whole Bible verse. He has actually also sent his condolences as well. He says, what goes on in a human being's head when he lifts a panga to cut another, or even aims a gun at another? So a lot of outcry following this killings. You can't have 200 attackers raiding houses and systems fail to notice even anticipate it. So there's been that narrative which we have not confirmed. What we heard from the security agencies is that they are looking at a figure of about 50 thereabout attackers, but now we are hearing, and it is gaining quite some traction online, that the attackers were about 200 or so. Some more talking about, so we have raided Isli and South Sea, thrown a tantrum over tinted windows. What is next? Kimama Deuri says, I miss the Nyayo days when I could walk freely without fear of being on a bullet's fight path or converted to minced meat by a grenade. People said to have taken cover inside pit latrines as gunmen fired mercilessly at residents in the Mpeketoni attack. Someone else saying, problem with the clueless Jubilee government is focusing on the even more clueless opposition. Focus on the work, leave code to shout itself hoarse. Another person is saying, so there's all manner of tweets that are out, and now you're seeing a lot of people taking to social media to just ventilate on this particular issue. But bottom line is that for Kenyans, out of this, they want some, as you've been saying, heads to roll, some change. You cannot have a problem and keep doing things the same way and expecting a safer Kenya, right?
Sophia, take this to the bank. Mpeketoni is a turning point. Yes, it is early for us to be making analysis and absolute statements, but Mpeketoni is and has got to be a turning point. Tell Senator Murkomen, rather than the lamentations on social media, and that's a good message, yes, but he's not a preacher. Let him go to State House and see the president today. If he doesn't know what to say, he's welcome to invite me. This is a turning point, to go with him. This has got to be a turning point. Kenyans taking cover in pit latrines, Kenyans are not going to take this. I can tell the government for free. Kenyans now are not going to take this anymore. They are not going to accept to be massacred and butchered this way. There's a clip there, and you see a guy there biting his teeth and shaking his head. That guy is feeling the pain of being done coronary heart surgery without going under anesthesia. He's being done surgery raw and live. The pain is too much. I wanted to make a clarification on something that Wakili Weda asserted. And before I do that, let me just say that yes, President Obama reads letters and responds. I respond to Twitter messaging, and a lot of my friends find it a bit absurd. They're like, really, you respond to people who just write and say you didn't answer the question well, or you answered the question well? We do have a culture, a crisis of leadership in the culture in this country, because leaders think that to be a big person is to ride in a nice Mercedes, to go and have big, nice, long lunches, to not pay any attention to what the voter who put you there needs, or what your subjects who you are overseeing or loading over the office need done. So this explains why we have all this lethargy in public service, why we don't connect the dots, because people are too busy going to cocktails, enjoying life, having fun and what have you. Having said all of that, Sophia, in 1993, the attack on the World Trade Center was carried out by a man from Al-Qaeda called Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. And the mistake that the government did at the time, the Bill Clinton administration, was to handle this as a criminal offense, so that they didn't define it as terror. They looked at it as, these are criminals, they've bombed and killed. There was actually one of the floors that had, some sort of daycare. They've killed innocents, etc. So they put them through the justice system to give them sentencing and what have you. Of course, you're supported by other players in it, so-called the blind sheikh, but a small unit of Al-Qaeda. What this did is it made Al-Qaeda then metastasise and grow and realize that the US was a soft spot even though it was a superpower, and that actually led 8 years later to 9/11. These guys are dangerous, and once you don't handle these things well, once they realize that you cannot contain, you're not gathering intelligence the right way, you're not defining what these things are the right way, you're dealing with them like robbers or pickpockets, it only builds up to a bigger hit. Which is why I personally, a few weeks ago, gave advice to the Inspector General and asked that he have the liberty within the Constitution, because this is a constitutional office, he's not a presidential appointee per se, to start a UCU, an undercover unit, to assist his office with intelligence. with intelligence gathering. One of the things that I've said, Sophia, on this show is terror thrives in chaotic environments. All right? Once you have a country, a county, where overlapping is the order of the day, where the traffic act is used like tissue paper, where police officers jump into the cars of motorists that they stop and extort bribes and all of this stuff, the terrorists are watching, and Al-Shabaab know that this is how they can then operate and thrive in this market.
Let me cut you short.
And that is very important.
We have a member of parliament here retweeting a tweet by President Kenyatta. Because actually I was shocked. I'm looking at this and I'm like, really? Why would the president put out such a tweet at this time? So he tweeted this on I think it was February 18th, 2013. Watch below the overwhelming support we received from the people of Mpeketoni, Lamu County. And so Kenneth Okoth, who's a member of parliament, Kibra, retweets that. Is this time to start politicking? Because this is a bit shocking, because first I thought he just tweeted it now.
Yes.
But for the member of parliament to retweet a tweet last year with a YouTube video of the president then was showing these are kind of support we received.
Let me take that one.
Mpeketoni. You've been talking for quite a while. Can you also talk a bit and then you also contribute?
Now, you see, I can see the outrage of Kenyans, and it is sad, and I feel it personal. I feel very bad that the leadership has not gained traction. But if you take a tweet like that, there is a large number of, a group of leaders who believe that the leadership of this country belongs to President Uhuru and his team. So that when things happen like this, it is a cause for celebration. It's like, it is easy, we are near a power. They do not know, people do not contextualize actions. They do not understand that this affects the economy, they will affect their salary, they'll affect how their children go to, they cannot contextualize. That is the unfortunate nature of having leaders with fairly narrow and undeveloped view about leadership. And that is what creates leaders who go up into oblivion, into somewhere. I would give you an example. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Dr. Welby, goes to work in public transport. For a long time, the Vice President of the United States of America would take the train. The best security information, even performance, you get from the very common person. That is the fellow who will tell you this is going right, this is going wrong. You get that feel. When you see the people crying and feeling that the leadership is clueless and these things happen, it should be a lesson. We should learn from that. Say something has gone wrong. Who takes responsibility? What is the way forward? It is now almost 10:30. No official position. None. In America,